Welcome to the Engineer You Masterclass. How to become the engineer who can never be unemployed. And that is you I'm talking about. And this masterclass is coming to you from Engineer You, which is the training arm of Engineers Without Borders Nigeria. And we're going to be dealing about value creation for engineers. Now, the truth is this. Engineers have been taught a lot of things about technical expertise, technical knowledge. But then engineering is actually much more than that. Engineering is simply, by our definition, it's leveraging technical knowledge and technical expertise to solve human and business problems in a way that doesn't affect the environment and complying with the extant law of the land where you are. That is what engineering is. So, which means engineering is not just technical knowledge, it is the leverage, the use of technical knowledge to actually solve problems that humans go through and business go through. And our focus on this particular class is more about the business problem. Now, how do you become so valuable and so irreplaceable in the workplace that you are actually not fired? That is the thing we're looking for. We're looking at here that nobody will actually ignore you, the value that you bring. Now, the truth is this, because of the way the economy is, some engineers listening to this will actually lose their job in the next few years. Now, even during the Iranian crisis, that the price of fuel went up, some engineers would have actually lost their job. Now, they didn't lose that job because they are bad. They lose the job simply because they have not developed themselves to become irreplaceable. So they can actually be replaced. You get me? So it is important for us to get to a place because we are engineers. We are the creators, we are the innovators, we are the problem solvers, we are the designers. All of those things are wrapped into one. So why should an engineer lose his job? Now, if you lose your job, this is a question you need to ask yourself. If you lose your job today, can another company employ you for the same amount or more? Please be honest with yourself. I remember when I worked in a certain company, I was earning a certain amount. By the time I leave this company, I moved to another company, I was paid less. But then here was what happened. Within a short time I was there, I was able to bring value to that company for my income to actually rise and meet what I was earning in that other company. Because you have to demonstrate that you are valuable. You have to demonstrate that, of course, in some bigger companies, you have each title, each role has a salary attached to it. Now, don't deceive yourself that that is your value. It is not your value. It is the value attached to that particular position. So if you think because you're earning that amount, it is your value, you're actually delusional. You are deceiving yourself. So get to know that your responsibility, if you're able to earn anything higher than that position, then it simply means that that is you've increased your value or you've demonstrated your value. And in this particular series of Engineer You master classes, we're going to be looking at those things so that you as an engineer cannot be looked down on. It is time that engineers are actually valued in the workplace. Now, most engineers are looking for job security, but the truth is this. The job security is not your job. That is not what you should seek out for. What you should seek out for is economic security. Now, if you follow your job descriptions, you get job security. But then if you want economic security, then you need to go beyond job security. You need to begin to develop the ability to create value. That is what gives you economic security. It's your ability. That is to say, anywhere you go, you're able to generate the same income because you have first of all become that person that creates that income, then you can now create that income. It is more like saying that a mango tree, a mango seed will grow and produce mango tree, produce mango fruit. Now, the same way, if you want to earn a certain amount of income, you have to become that person. And to become that person, you have to develop the value creation mindset and the value creation capability. We teach all of this in the value creation for engineers program. And I hope to see you in that particular program. But here we're talking about job security. Don't ever fall for job security because it is false. It is not true. You get me? The same boss that promised you job security today can actually fire you. The only place where there's job security is more or less in the civil service. And in the civil service, whether you increase your value or you don't increase your value, nobody actually cares about you. Your salary is based on the position you have, except you become maybe a director that they impress to that particular office or some other deals that come around, you earn more from it. You see, most engineers believe this. I believe the same thing, that if I can just develop more skills, I can actually have more security. So you find engineers, even at work, they want to develop more skills, more technical skills. I have this particular guy I was mentoring, and he wanted to develop more skills. Now, you see, more technical skills end up becoming more like fighting with the technical people, the people with ND, the people with HND, because they are the ones that are actually technical. As an engineer, you are, yes, you develop technical skills, but your technical skills is a leverage for you to solve problems. You get it. So you need to develop business skills. You need to develop environmental skills, sustainability skills, legal skills. You get me? Human skills. You need to develop all of this because this might is actually very dangerous for you. The more you're developing more technical skills, you get to a point in every organization in the career trajectory, you find out that you get to a certain point, there will only be one chief engineer. And if you are not it, you may not be it. So if you're able to develop other skills, you can actually, as an engineer, end up in sales. You can end up in different areas because we can have the skill, we can develop the skills in every single department in a company, and we can help deliver value. Now, here's the reality check so that you get to know companies don't pay for the effort, for the knowledge, for the time. So, which means as an engineer, you should not fall into the trap of the effort and time economy. You get me? The time economy, if you don't work, you get in by, let's say, 7 o'clock, you close by 4, then you time in when you're going in, you time out when you're going out. So you are known that, okay, you're actually coming and so on. There is this university I did some projects with, and that even if you're a professor, if you teach in the class, you have to clock in. Yeah, you get me. You have to clock in so that they will know that you attended that particular class because it is based on effort and time. But then, if a particular professor of engineering or a student of engineering or an engineer working in a place decide to move beyond that, you get to understand that where the major pay, where you leave a lot of money on the table, is impact, results, and value. And that is where you need to get to as an engineer. You need to move to that particular point, and you can only do that by creating value. You are not paid for what you know. You get people don't even care what you know. In the business world, nobody cares what you know. All they care about is how you can use what you know to actually add value to them. You are paid for what your work does to the business. What the knowledge you know, the things you know, how does it add value to this particular business? That is the thing that most business people are concerned about. Not whether you come to the office. The truth is this: somebody that is creating value may not even spend all the time you spend at work. So you need to understand this. Now, here's the value gap. Now, I must say something about the value gap here. We develop a value gap assessment tool. Now, the essence of the tool is for you to know your value to your employer. Now, your employer conduct an evaluation, performance evaluation for you. But then you can conduct your own to know, am I actually valuable to this company? Am I bringing value to this company? Now, in that particular assessment tool, you get to know the value you're bringing, and then how do you get to improve yourself? Then you can use your value to negotiate whatsoever you want, because your value can actually be leveraged. You cannot leverage your employment, but you can leverage the value that you're bringing. So the value gap is the difference between what you do in the office and the value you create. Now, you see, closing this gap is what makes you become irreplaceable. It is what makes you become hard to be fired or to be unemployed. So you need to get to the point where you begin to develop yourself, get to develop yourself to be valuable in that particular workplace. Like Albert Einstein says, that don't actually struggle to get paid. You get me? Your struggling should be to become a person of value. Because when you become a person of value, then you actually attract that particular pay. Now, in the value gap audit tool or assessment tool, we have more than four, but I'm looking at just three gaps that you can actually look at. Now, those particular gaps, if you're able to breach those gaps, they will make you irreplaceable. You get me? There's three gaps. You cannot be replaced. So the first one is the business understanding gap. The second one is the ownership gap. The third one is the visibility gap. Now, in the business understanding gap, as engineers, we know systems, we know the technical aspect, we know the tools. Basically, that is not enough. Now, what are we doing with these things we know to improve how that company makes money, how it drives cost, and what leadership cares about? Because this gap makes your work invisible to the people who decide your future. You get me? You need to. I work in a company and we're working in the factory. The factory is actually far removed from where the management are. Now you can do anything there, you can do your repair. Nobody knows about you, nobody cares. But you see, the moment you begin to develop systems, you begin to leverage your technical knowledge and help that company make more money, you are bridging that gap. You help them to reduce cost. And then you get to know the things that management cares about and you help them develop that. I'm telling you this, you are creating value for that particular company and everybody will recognize you. Now, the second one is the ownership gap. You need to take ownership of the problems in that company, the solutions you're going to come out with, and then the outcomes from there. You don't just be a tax executor. The things you're told, you get with most engineers when they get into the workplace, they wait to be told what they need to do. Now, you don't have to wait for that. You don't have to complete tasks. You get me? Begin to be a CIA for problem in that company. Begin to look for problem. I was working in a place and then there were certain team members, staff, they were actually complaining. They were talking, they were bitter and so on. And I had them. I never joined them. So I listened to what they were complaining about. Now, what they were complaining about becomes a problem that I needed to solve. So I walk up to the boss and I said, sir, I know you're a busy man and there's this problem on ground. Please, I can solve it. And I'm ready to do that. You see, that singular act actually endeared me to the heart of the boss. And it brought me a lot of favor and goodwill in that office. I spent 7 months there. When I was leaving after 7 months, he didn't want me to go. He said, okay, here's what we're going to do. You come in by 12, leave by 3, I'll pay you a certain amount of money. At the end of the day, I ran away because, see, free money destroys your ability to create value. Every single money you earn legitimately, let it be the outcome of the value that you create and add. So, as a value creator, what you need to do is this: you need to identify problems, own the outcomes. Now, those particular problems should be outside the department, the entire company. You have to study the business model of the company, the value chain, the supply chain, and look at how your technical knowledge can actually help that company. If you don't have that particular capability to capture the opportunity for the company, what do? Go and learn it. Learn it on your own. Because by the time you learn it and you're able to do it, it positions you to actually negotiate out of a place of strength. We'll be discussing this along the way in other master classes. Just hook up and make sure that you're part of each one. Now, the last one is visibility gap. Now, you have done a lot of things, of course, but then you need to be visible. You get me? Because you can do things. If nobody knows you're doing it, nobody will see you as actually visible. So you may be valuable, but if no one sees it, it doesn't count. So it is your responsibility to actually make it known what you're doing. And when you're doing this, you have to quantify it. Quantify it in a way that is actually valuable, that matters to management or leadership of the place where you want. Silent value is worthless value in organizational eyes. So your value should not be silent. You have to speak about your value. You have to write your value. You have to talk about your value, communicate your value. Now, there's this story, two engineers. I know you may have known about this. Now, these two engineers, engineer A is hardworking, quiet. He comes to the office early and he leaves the office late. You get me? He does everything he's told. Then there's engineer B. This engineer B may not even come in time, but then he solves business problems. He leverages his skills and solve business problems. He communicates his impact to the management, and he owns the outcome. You see, that owning of outcome enable him to have a stake in that particular outcome. So which one are you between these two? Which one are you? And which one do you think is actually better? Now, here's the thing. When layoff comes, engineer A will be let go and engineer B will be retained. Because it is not about you coming to office and doing the things you're told to do. A robot can actually do it. Somebody can replace you. But then it is about value difference. Engineer B is more valuable to the company than engineer A. Engineer B is actually bringing more value, adding more to the company than engineer B. Engineer A is basically maintaining the value that has been created. Every activity, your job description is maintaining the value that has been already been created. That's what job description is. So when you move out of your job description, then now you're actually creating more value for that particular company. So you are exceeding the expectation of your employer. So we'll be stopping here. So I am asking you every Friday by 5 p.m. You can join us on the master class where we talk about how engineers can actually be valuable. You get me? As an engineer, you need to be valuable. And I'm also saying that you can join the Value Creation for Engineers program so that you can actually begin to develop. The good thing about this program is this: it is a guide. You get me? It takes 8 weeks. So each week you take a class, then after the class, you practice it, then you report back. It's more or less like coaching. We want to ensure that you actually make it a part of your life so that you employ what you learn and get the results even before it ends. Thank you very much.